It depends on the day because we're still digging through those. So we have scarlet groups and gray groups, and we really are. I know, Ryan's talked about it too. These guys are out in the middle of it and competing. The good news is they're running with ones, running with twos, right, left side. We've got really good defensive ends here too, so we can actually get a really good taste and a feel of how they can handle those guys. And it's still just, early on in camp, and you're not trying to play the shell game to find your five best, and we're really still in the middle of that. You're hoping guys can kind of settle up and finalize that, and we'll get to that soon. But it's really, to get good looks, good competition, see who's good right, who's good left, who's good working together that way.
When do you switch from it's Spencer, sorry. Coach, can you scoot up to the mic for me?
Yeah. There we go.
I think today's day 11. When do you switch from it's still early in camp to, hey, we really got to start going?
Well, I think we're still, 17 days away from the game, so you get through a scrimmage Saturday. It's starting to, shake itself out, and guys are rising. And that's what you do. Guys just separate. All positions, both sides of the ball. We're competing all over, and so we're getting closer. I'm feeling confident with some guys, like we said, getting looks against those real guys. And so now they just got to stack good days on top of good days, and that's when guys kind of pull apart and separate there.
Last week when we talked to Ryan, he mentioned that it's kind of a two-man battle for that center job with Carson and Vic. What did those two do to kind of separate from Jacob? And what did Vic do in particular to elevate to that spot? It didn't seem like he was there.
Well, it's the same deal. Like, all those guys are still rolling in there. And it's consistency. Like, you got to stack good days on top of good days. If you're in a controlled situation or a controlled period, and then you go to a team period, you got to be able to go play the game. And we do a good job here of trying to give those guys opportunities as we go. And like we said, that really depends on the day of who's on the scarlet and who's on the gray. And I got to look at my script half the time and be like, all right, scarlet guys today, here's how we're going, because we sit and talk through and try to fit those guys in the right places to find our five best.
What do you like from
Go ahead, guys. I call them all. We got a lot of Joshes in our room, right? So, I like mindless, dumb TV when I can. And so, I kind of related that to, The Office. When Michael Scott goes down, I don't know if you guys watch The Office, he goes in the warehouse, and it's Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, right? And it's really, he's down in Daryl Philbin's, but it was Daryl, and then it was Philbin, and then Reed, and then Raj, and it kind of morphed. So I think the Jimmy thing just kind of morphed from, we had a lot of Joshes, and we got a Dilla, we got a Fryer, we got a Simmons. So, in the room, we got the Jimmy there, but he's Josh,
what just stood out about him then, and what stands out about him now? Why is he made? Number one, why has he fit in so quickly, and number two, why has he made such a? I don't know if it's a quick rise or what you would call it.
Well, he's a more mature guy. That's the thing. When you get these guys from the transfer portal, they've known college football. So even with some of those younger guys that came mid-year, they're really still just first-year guys. He's been in a locker room. He's played in college football games. So I think the speed of the game for him is a little slower than an actual rookie. Coming out of high school, it's all the stuff we've talked about. You could watch every interview I've said when you ask about linemen or evaluations, like base, spin, balance, and burst. I felt out of high school he owned those, and then he continued to develop those, and the need opened up with the spot and the fit, and now he's bought into the room. He's bought into the culture. He's around the guys. He works the way you're supposed to. He's still learning, to work some of the ways that he needs to, and he's around a good room of guys that we know how to do that, and so he's bought into that, and I think that's been the easiest transition for him.
Left tackle is such
It's just all of those guys rolling. We got a lot of tackles that we've been rolling through, and finding the best fit of who's best next to each other, who's comfortable in space when we need him to be. Because you got a guy like Josh Fryer that played left all spring and moved over and got a lot of reps there. So you don't know that may not be the case if we need that to be as well. So still really in the thick of it. Like I said, we've got scarlet groups, we've got gray groups. These guys are taking a ton of reps. Mike and I and Coach Philbin and Coach Day and the whole staff, we're evaluating and grading every snap of every guy, so that when we tee the ball up versus Indiana, we're playing our 5, 6, 7, 8 best, whatever that may be.
What have you seen the growth you've seen from Luke over the last 9 months that's put him in this position? Whether he starts or not, it looks like he's going to be in the QB. What have you seen from him over the last 9 months that's put him in this position?
He's just another freshman that's bought in, that's working really hard. Got to get through camp, got to go that way, and he's just ultimately got to keep doing what he's doing and continue to grow and be a better football player.
Is
Is he further along than maybe you thought he would be when he first showed up?
I stopped putting hopes and wishes in those buckets of guys. You just kind of coach them and see where they're at. You know, if you timestamp it, then you might be disappointed, and then that's a bad way to look at it. So, you know, it's about the now and the process, and that sounds really cliche, but that's how coaches you have to look at that, because you could look at a young kid hoping, God, I really think he's going to be this, and then what if he's not? Well, now have you set yourself up for, well, maybe it was too fast, maybe it was this. You just go day by day, and as you get through camp, you get through spring with those guys, you really try to figure out who's there and how far they've come along without gauging that.
Given how developmental that offensive line can be in general, physically and everything else that comes with it, realistically, what would it take for a freshman, for you to trust a freshman out on the field in a real meaningful snap?
I mean, they've got to be the 5 best and help us go win the game. You know, I mean, treat them like anybody else. If they're ready to do that and ready to play, then you have to feel comfortable in that. You know, I mean, I've been involved with major college football, whether as a player, a GA, or as a coach, since 2002. And I've had day one true freshman starter up front. It's just hard. Doesn't mean it can't be done, but it's hard. But I've also had guys that have played as true freshmen. So if they're ready and they're able to help you win the game and it's in that fit, then those guys can do that. But like I went back before, like, you're not time stamping that. Say they have to be ready by now. They're ready when they're ready, and then you just coach them that way.
Who was the freshman that started? Yeah.
I had, when I was at UCLA, Sean Ryan, who plays the Green Bay Packers now. And he only started because the week of the game we lost a guy to a concussion, we lost a guy to a high ankle. So now you're going to play a Thursday night season opener, and like, that's why I have gray hairs now. I think a little bit. A couple of those were added because of that. So
How close is Luke to being one of those 5 best guys?
he's taking a bunch of high quality reps. You know, all those guys are bad. I mean, you got Zinue, you got Tegra, you got him, you got George, you got Josh Simmons, you got Josh Fryer. You got guys out there on the edge that are, like I said, you have to ask me, is it is it a scarlet day or a gray day? And that's who's been with me, who's with Mike, who's going against, you know, JT and Jack one day, who's got Kenyatta one day, who's inside, you know, Caden Curry, whatever that may be. It's a day-by-day evaluation, and that's the best way I know how to do it is press play on the tape, grade the tape, and then as you get closer to that game week, you can really start pegging who your guys are going to be, help you win those games.
That's some weird things already about Austin in the spring, especially. But have you seen that continue into fall camp?
Yeah. All those guys they're just more comfortable playing the game. You know, they are more comfortable. It's still scary for a young guy to look across and see like Mike Hall over there, because Mike Hall's a really good player. So you've got to trust your technique. You got to trust your fundamentals. Early on, you don't do that. You see Mike Hall and you just say, "Oh crap, I hope I block him." Or now you can let your technique take you home. You can trust the scheme. You can get into it. So all those, I mean, honestly, there's guys that came mid-year with Miles and with Austin and with Dilla and with, with Luke. Like, that was highly beneficial for those guys because they've got banked reps now. So they're already a little bit ahead of the curve than a guy who would have got here in June or July.
When you're talking about finding your best 5, is that the 5 who's at their best are the best? Is that the 5 who are consistently at the highest level? Are you looking at 90th percentile outcome, or are you looking at, like, on an average play, these guys are consistently, their average plays are better than
Yeah. I was really bad at math in college. It took me 3 times to pass calculus. So I try to keep it really simple, and we all do as a staff, so that when I go to Coach Day and we talk to Brian as a staff and offensive staff of, it's all of the above there. Do they grade and make their play? You know, the offensive line position is, you're at the POA every time. So if you've got a guy that's a critical position and 3 or 4 times a game he's not making that play or in that practice, the other 70% he may get it done, but it's a little less insignificant, versus a guy that at the POA is a little more consistent, and then they're both, though, grading about the same. That's when you really got to kind of look at it as much in depth as you can. But it's not as clean cut as like, well, this guy was 83 and this guy was 75. Because like I said, what was that 75 against versus this 83 on that day? And then there's chemistry, there's communication, there's continuity with guys. Like, that's part of it that we have to get into, and we're getting closer. But right now, the competitive, the smart part, and then the toughness is all 3 things that we're really over the top about with Coach Day. And then those are tangible, evaluative things that we're looking at with our guys.
that continuity piece?
Attributes of left tackle and right tackle that you view any differently than I want a guy who has this on one side versus the other? Is it pretty much the same?
Yeah, I mean, both guys have to be really comfortable in space. You know, I think maybe back in the olden days, teams would put their best pass rusher on the blind side of the quarterback, meaning his backside. So that might have been looked into more. But now with matchups, with defensive structures changing where they're putting people, you just got to be really comfortable in space because you're going to be on your own in an island. And then after that, probably a little bit there, but nothing that we hang our hat on more of like significantly more here versus here,
Are guys comfortable one side versus the other side, more just moving to the right versus moving to the left?
Yeah, some in our guys are pretty good. We've got some, what's the big word, ambidextrous guys, that can go right and left. So, you don't want to flip a guy right brain, left brain in the middle of a series or something like that. So you like to try to get a guy honed in on that. But, even in a game, it might start here, and then if the left guard goes down, just hypothetically going something, that doesn't mean the backup left guard goes in. If your sixth best guy is a tackle, then maybe your left tackle can slide into guard or your backup left tackle goes to guard. Those are the things you got to look at too, because you have to play your five best, not necessarily just slide up your two deep that way.
Justin, with yards being not really talked about in the last 6 months, we've talked so much about the tackle situations in the centers. What have you seen out of Donnie specifically to know that he's the guy that's not just the leader on the field, but off the field, for a player that had his own struggles, a year ago and getting comfortable?
I mean, that's the word, comfort. He's just more comfortable being in a vocal position. There's things where I might see something as a coach that now I want to go up and I could tell the group, but I can just go to Donovan and say, hey, get this fixed. This happened. Here's what it is. That's your job, because on 3rd and 7, I'm not kick sliding next to you. That guy is or that guy is, so you got to go get it fixed. I would say even through the spring up to now, and now when that message happens, it's not like, oh, man, I got to go bring some bad news to the guys. He's like, I got it, coach, and then let's go that way. And then the success that you have, that builds confidence there as you're speaking to people, you're leading people, you're driving people, and then now in his play, hey, I'm going to work on this technique here today. And if I mess it up, it's okay because I'm deliberately working on this thing. And then he's polishing that tool and putting it in the toolbox. So I think it's helped him on the field. And then off the field, we're still growing with that every day, because it doesn't matter if you're a coach, you've been coached for a bunch of years, or you're a kid that's learned how to lead your group. Confrontation's not easy. It's not comfortable. You have to make yourself comfortable with that. And you have to be comfortable being exposed that way, knowing that you might still make a mistake too, but they look at you knowing you're going to get it rectified or corrected. So I think that's where his growth has been off the field the most, and allowing him then on the field to look at it through different lenses and really enhance his skill set schematically and technically and fundamentally.
Has he been able to be more demonstrative on the field? He's such a nice kid, and I think sometimes there's a tendency to not.
He crosses the scarlet line well. He knows how to do that. He's doing a great job with that. We're happy with that.
Talking with Josh Frye played guard at tackle. You guys, how do his skills fit in at tackle? What are his best attributes at that spot?
Well, I think the game slows down for him because he's seen it through broader eyes. So back to your original question, like how would that help a tackle? I can be more comfortable in space because I know I'm really going to get my guard here on this side protection. I'm really not getting any help, so I need to work this set, this technique, whatever that may be. So I think just having a bigger picture of the speed of the game, the spatial awareness of the game, and not just living in a box. A lot of young guys at first, it's survival. We tell these young guys, you try to get a play where the play's called and you in your mind can be like, yes, I got that guy. And then I can go play really hard. The minute you have to start sifting or squeezing or comboing or maybe turn into something else, or am I working with the tight end on this one or am I not working with the tight end? There's more variables that add that can cause paralysis by analysis. Whereas when you've had more reps, you've had more inside-outside looks, you can kind of trim the fat and keep it right back into what you need to do. And I think that's helping him right now on both sides, when he's had both sides.
You mentioned refinement. The offensive line is a little different because you're working together as a unit. So we were talking about the importance of taking time to let guys gel.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a point during fall camp where you kind of go, okay, we have to know who our best five are, where they're going to fit, because they need the time, they need a certain number of reps or camp?
Yeah, you don't want to drag it all the way out. Since, like I said, we're getting closer to that. But they'll know and we'll know, and we're getting there where now it's like you start seeing it and you're like, okay, that's it. Now these guys can really roll together. But, I mean, like I said, that we've been rolling the scarlet, the gray, this guy here, this guy there. I still double team with a guard. that combo is not going to change. If we're working the 3-tech to the backside, I'm working the 3-tech to the backside, right? Now, yeah, if you have a more skilled player next to you, it's going to help. But at the end of the day, us two have those two, and your technique's got to take you home. So it's not as wild as it might sound or think. But yeah, as you get closer to game week, you still don't want to be doing the shell game and shuffling as you get into game week, and we won't be. We'll be targeted by then.
When you're going from a young, experienced center that you had last year to a young guy or a new guy at that position, are there any differences in how much you want to put on that first year starting center's plate in comparison to what you may have been able to do with Luke in that role last year?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's the way the guys grasp on and how far they go. You know, we don't change from the fit though. Like, what's our front, what's our ID, and what's our technique? You know, now how you digest that, how you use that to go play fast. You know, that's then on the player. Where a more experienced guy that's seen it more and more, that picture, like we just talked with Josh, that picture might open up and those fuzzy guys in the back might turn into, oh, that's a safety off the hash. But the main part of it and the core principles, you're going to be fine there no matter who it is. As long as we coach them that way and they take it that way and work it that way. And those guys inside right now, they're doing a really good job because we're enforcing that. We're making that something of importance of the communication so everybody's on the same page, and then we can go to work that way.
Talking with Jimmy, one of the biggest areas he said he's developed his game is in his ankles and pass protection and how he's not catch defensive ends that way. Just how does the speed of the defensive ends on this team help develop that for your tackles?
I mean, what's the old adage or cliche you want to work? Like, iron sharpens iron. Like, you're going against some of the best players in the country on a Tuesday, Wednesday. You know, I know I've said this before, but you look back to like Zach Harrison last year when he was at the Combine, and they asked him why his game elevated his senior year, and he said, because I went against the two best tackles in the country every day in practice. Well, we get that opportunity as tackles now to make sure that we're getting great edge looks from all those guys. You know, we got young guys stepping up. Kenyatta's giving great looks, and he's going to be a big-time player for us. Caden Curry's over there now, like the Tasmanian Devil sometimes getting in it. You got JT, you got Jack, you got all these guys that when you get down, you're going against a real dude. So the speed of practice is at a high level all the time, and so you can't miss and you can't be off. And I think that was probably his biggest adjustment, was understanding what every play of every day and every down means at practice when you're here and when you're going against who we're going against every day.
Then just
Great,
real quick.
Coach. Okay, real quick.
Real quick. What's the secret to maintaining a good angle as a tackle when you're protecting the edge?
The secret. I love those tag words like that. I wish I knew. You coach the guys and give them tools in their toolbox for fundamentals. We talk about getting to the spot, and the right spot, meaning what's the intersection point from where the end is and where the quarterback is. And so being on that string of a basketball player, it's ball me man. But the good news is in football you get to use your hands and be physical, where in basketball it's a foul. So getting to that spot and then having a plan when you're at the spot, that's what you got to work on. And then it's just repetition, knowing the speed of the game, knowing who you're going against. That's what the guys really got to adjust to, and they're all doing a really good job of that right now. So, thanks, guys.